Well, today we've got a fake eviction to talk about and the return of two former housemates, along with a lot of other juicy drama. So make sure to tune in and let's talk about everything that happened over the course of the last 2 days in Big Brother. That's right, I'm back with Big Brother, and today we are going to be talking about Thursday and Friday's episodes. And I'm super excited. We've got a shopping task as well as a fake eviction. Lots of juicy, juicy drama. So let's get straight into it. So the shopping task this week was really, really entertaining, actually. I thought it was very, very well devised. I like the Big Brother's just like, okay, you're this, you're this, you're this. It very much feels like this year there isn't so much a hierarchy of people being in power positions. I think this is the first time we've seen that so far of a shopping task, and this is the third one, I feel like. And it still felt like they were kind of equal. No one was getting preferential treatment. It was more just some people were having to do more than others. But it wasn't like, oh yeah, you guys just sit in a room and eat and drink food all day. Do you know what I mean? Eat and drink food, do you know what I mean? But it's a lot better at making the house feel less hierarchical, I guess is the word I would use. But either way, they were split into the following groups. Zila, Tate, Nancy, Elsa, Sam and Tasia were all patients in the hospital. Cameron, Faishola were nurses. Richard was the matron, and then Jenny, Marcus and Caroline were the doctors. So again, there was a slight hierarchy, but it wasn't to the extent of some are having complete and utter better treatment than others. So that was what made it so unbelievably entertaining. And I have to say, the challenge was really funny. I mean, the doctors did take the absolute piss. There was a moment where they were phoning up Richard and Richard told them to shut up or shut your face, and then put the phone down. And Jenny was like, did he just say shut your face? I, again, cannot do the accent. I'm trying to get the Derry accent, but it's not going very well, dare I say. Haha, that was funny. Anyway, I also found it hilarious when Caroline was completely stitching Richard up with the phone call being like, oh, can you just repeat that again? And Richard was like, no, I'm not repeating it again. And then told him to shut your face again. Genuinely, that entire conversation was just TV gold. Genuinely one of my favourite moments of the series, and it did just make me chuckle so much. So the doctors had to give a illness to each of the patients, and then obviously that would decide what their treatment would be, aka what challenge they'd had to complete in order to win any kind of points for the team. So it was very, very funny the way that they split this up. Lazy Bones was given to Elsa. Broken Funny Bone was given to Zila and Nancy. Personality Transplant was given to Tate. Wingitis was given to Tasia. And then Chronic Spineless Disorder was given to Sam. So I did find it very, very funny the way that they split it up, because it kind of fit everyone kind of perfectly, I can't lie. And I was a bit like, oh, this is going to cause a little bit of drama. Now, we're going to talk about Sam's treatment separately because it was more in depth and it has more to talk about. But there were some great, great ones. I mean, Elsa had to get up into the garden and put pills into a box to cure her laziness, which she seemed to have an absolute blast doing, by the way. Then we had Tate had to like sit in a chair strapped to like electric shocks as they did like almost like an operation style maze with the wires and the metal. You get what I mean. You know what I'm on about. They had to do that. And then Zila and Nancy, to cure their lack of a funny bone, I guess, was they had to dress up as clowns. So that was quite funny. But the one I want to shed more light on is the Wingitis cure, which was essentially to just take a shot of just some foul liquid, okay? Now, I'm not being funny. If I'm being 100% honest, I think both Caroline and Tasia were completely ridiculous in this situation. I mean, Caroline was just trying to get the job done and was just trying to, like, get them some points for the task, because that's all Tasia had to do was just swallow some horrible liquid. And Cameron did become a little bit overzealous with the way that she was forcing it down Tasia's neck. And unfortunately, some of it did spill onto her pajamas and onto her covers. I don't think that Caroline wanted that to happen. I don't think she did it maliciously. I think she was just like, let's get this done. Stop whinging, basically, which was her illness. And I feel like as much as Caroline was wrong for forcing her to do it, Tasia, you're 18, I get that, but also, do you want to be the reason why the group loses the challenge? Do you really want to be the reason? Because you want to stay in the house, right? If nominations come round and they've had to live on basic rations for the next week, you are going to be the reason why they're pissed off and you're going to get voted up. And I don't know how the British public feels about you, do you know what I mean? So I would be thinking about that. I would have just done it. I wouldn't have been whinging and moaning and getting pissed off and upset. And yeah, it does suck that, unfortunately, it stunk and it's on your bedclothes now. But I don't know. I just found it to be, like, quite infuriating to watch her just not want to participate in it and then throw a strop afterwards. I don't know. I didn't rate it. It didn't sort of, yeah, it didn't endear me towards Tasia. And I've loved Tasia this entire season. But this is the first time where I've been like, well, not the first time, but like the first time that I've really been like, yeah, I can tell she's 18 years old. I can tell. Before that, I thought she's very level-headed and she's very sort of old for her age. But actually, the reaction to this, I was a bit like, come on, put your big girl pants on and just get it over and done with. It's literally a shot. I mean, Tate had to sit there and get electric shocks. Sam's having to out his entire opinions on everybody. And they're having to dress up as clowns. And all you have to do is swallow some nasty liquid. And it's over in 2 seconds. Come on. Please. You can do that. So like I said, Sam had to do a opinions-based task where he was asked questions, and the more raw and honest his opinions were, the more the spinometer would go up and he would be cured. So the first one he was asked was best game player. He said Richard, and I will say he gave a pretty decent response to that. The next one was who do people seek approval from, and he said Faishola. Now, we're going to talk about Faishola in a little bit, but I do agree. I think Faishola is in a very, very powerful position within the house, and is almost like whatever she says is how the house dictates their opinions on things, or not maybe the whole house, but certain people within the house. I think she holds a lot of power over people, and maybe she realizes it, maybe she doesn't, but I think that's a very interesting dynamic to expose within the house. Most annoying was Caroline. I mean, we could have all seen that coming. Caroline was giggling away as Sam was saying this. And then easily influenced was Tasia. Again, I don't really understand how Tasia is easily influenced. The reason given was because Tasia is young. And I was a bit like, oh, okay, right, interesting. Okay, that's pretty bland, I'll be honest. And the spinometer definitely showed that. And then the last one he was asked was who's most delusional, and he said Jenny. And I will say, even though Jenny was right in front of him, Sam genuinely dug deep and went into Jenny. I mean, their comments was just incredibly just brutal, but equally I feel like Jenny kind of took it on the chin. So you know what, fair game, I appreciate it. Sam, you did a good job and you did pass the task, so well done. So the outcome of the challenge was very, very good. All of the patients completed their tasks, and then they were told, oh yeah, so out of a possible 20 points from the staff, they earned 5 points because of the following reasons. Marcus, you were flirting with a patient. Elsa, which was quite funny. Caroline, you were a little bit too forceful with Tasia. I'm glad that she got called out for that. That was very unsettling to watch, but equally, Tasia, just take your medicine. It's not the end of the world. Jenny shouted at people. She did do that. Cameron K was apparently sleeping on the job. The nursing station wasn't manned by 2 people at all times, and they still managed to get a luxury budget because the exact number of points that they got for the challenge was the exact number of points they needed, which was actually very, very funny. So, very, very well done. They've got the luxury budget. Let's go. So, with a shopping budget, there's always going to be drama. There always is. And there's always going to be drama because Caroline is very, very... She's going to stick up her ass. Let's just put it that way. She's going to stick up her ass about the fact that certain people commandeer the budget and they control what gets put on, what doesn't get put on. And I have to say, me personally, as long as I've got like a couple of my own items, I don't care enough to control the budget. Do you know what I mean? As long as I get a say in what I want, if we've got a luxury budget, cool, fair game. They had £1,000 to play with, which is a little bit ridiculous, I will say. It's a little bit much, if you ask me. However, I also liked the fact that they were just going ham with it. Now, obviously, Faishola and Tate apparently control it, along with Zila, because they do the most of the cooking. So it's only fair that they decide what gets put on so they know what they're cooking for the house. I don't like the fact that that puts them in a power position over the house, because it very clearly does. Certain people do see them as powerful within the house because they control the shopping budget. I mean, part of me really wants to see Caroline do it just to see what she'd do, whether she'd fuck the house up, she'd just order 1,000 bags of crisps and like 200 bananas like they did in the season back in the day. So it would have been really, really interesting to see what she would have done with it. But I will say, watching Faishola in the diary room having to make up like £200 worth of food just on the spot because she only had like 3 minutes left, so much entertainment. And Big Brother being sassy in that diary room, so entertaining. When she was like, oh yeah, like 100 bags of this, isn't that a little bit excessive? It's like, no, put it down on the list, Big Brother, put it down. It was really, really entertaining, and I had a great time watching. So yeah, the shopping budget once again proved to be a very entertaining part of the week. Now, we've spoken about Faishola, and we've spoken about Zila, and now it's time to talk about them together, because there's a little bit of drama to talk about, and Late and Live actually proved useful for once for adding a little bit of spice into this conversation, because the episode showed a scene in the hot tub where Zila and Faishola were just making eyes towards each other. There might have been like a little bit of inappropriate touching, or I say inappropriate, it could be deemed inappropriate if you didn't understand the context, I guess. And Jenny just called them out on it and was like, hey, if that was my boyfriend, I would be fucking pissed off right now. I'd be fuming. I'd be absolutely angry. I wouldn't take it. And obviously Zila and Faishola were very sort of defensive, and then Faishola went off because she was upset about it, etc, etc. And Jenny was explaining like, hey, in my relationship, if my boyfriend did that with another woman, I would be very angry. And Zila was explaining, hey, we are just friends. I am just drawn to feminine energy because I was a woman for 23 years. And I was like, you know what? Fair game. If that's your reasoning and you are just flirty and funny with all of your mates, but that's where the boundary is crossed and your girlfriend knows that, that's fine by me. But what's not fine is the fact that Faishola has admitted that if Zila did not have a girlfriend, she would have gone for Zila. I was genuinely in absolute shock when that clip was played on Late and Live, because it added so much context to the situation. I literally wrote in my notes, why is Faishola so upset over this? Like, surely you would have just laughed it off and been like, oh, whatever, shut up, Jenny. You know we're just friends, and you'd have laughed it off. But now I'm starting to think that Faishola is getting purposely upset by things to act like the victim. And that's not ringing true in my mind. It's making me a little bit concerned. We saw it with the Cameron K situation where it was just a poor choice of words and it didn't need the reaction that it got. But I was willing to let that slide because I was like, okay, maybe that was just a one-off situation. But now Jenny's called her out for essentially flirting with Zila when he has a girlfriend, sorry, my bad. Then it doesn't make sense why she's having this big reaction, calling Jenny out, being like, oh, can't believe she would say that to me, and being upset when you've been open and honest about the fact that you would have dated Zila if he was available. So I don't understand. Is it guilt? Is it the fact that you've been called out for something correctly? I don't understand. But now I'm starting to think that you are a little bit more of a game player than meets the eye. Are you doing this for attention, for screen time, for sympathy, potentially? I don't know. Are you trying to make Jenny out to be the bad person? I really don't know what the vibe is with this, but something felt off. And you know me, I have to think about everything from both sides. Was she being genuine, Faishola? Probably. Maybe she did have maybe she was just upset. I don't know. But the way it looks to us as an audience was that was an overreaction. And it's not her first overreaction in the house to something that's quite minimal and could have just taken okay, I don't appreciate you using that word with me, or I don't appreciate the fact that you said that, let's move on. Cool. It didn't need the reaction that it got. So, I mean, the rest of the episode was fairly bitty. There were, like, funny moments, but, like, boring, whatever. Like, it was entertaining to watch, not really entertaining to talk about on this. So what we are going to talk about are the 2 returning housemates. Now, if it had been leaked, which it did get leaked, and I was really disappointed that it got leaked. But if it hadn't have been leaked, I think this would have been really, really good. This would have been a great like shock, and I'd have been like, oh my god, crazy. But the fact that it was leaked that both Farida and Emily were going back into the house, I was a little bit disappointed. First of all, I don't think Emily should have been going back into the house. She was gone from this series in a fair vote, and as much as the wording of the vote was who do you want to give an evil eye and not who do you want to evict, which I had an argument with someone on Twitter about it and got blocked. So you know what is at the end of the day. I know what the wording of it was. If you guys thought you were voting to evict, clearly you didn't read the wording correctly. But I understand why they brought her back because of that technicality. I don't think they should have. I think if they were going to do that, maybe put her in next series, maybe. I don't know. But either way, Farida being back, genuinely, I'm very excited. Me personally, I would put Farida and Carrie back in the house because that genuinely was one of the best rivalries that we've ever had on this show. Because as much as it felt mean-spirited, you could tell that it was just because they just couldn't stand living with each other, and that was so entertaining. Like, it wasn't they hated each other, it was just they couldn't stand living with each other, and that's absolutely fair and valid. So yeah, I'm very excited to have both of them back in the house. More so Farida than Emily. I think Emily's going to come in and she's going to mix up some drama, and we need somebody else that's going to cause a little bit of a stir. The house is getting a little bit tame with Caroline being the only troublemaker at the moment, so I kind of do want something to change with the dynamics. I also feel like introducing people back in is really going to upset the power balance that Zila and Faishola currently have in the house, so I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to change things. And as for Farida, she's just going to say it how it is, isn't she? She's going to be absolutely honest with her opinions, and I'm totally here for that. So the person who got fake evicted, or evicted I should say, was Sam. In fact, they didn't even realise that he had been called. They had to say it a couple of times, which was really, really funny. And then the entire house just erupted into pandemonium because I don't think anybody expected Sam to be voted out. So he's leaving and he's like, okay, I've got to get my myself together. And then he's posing and I'm like, okay. And then he clearly reads the auto cue and realises what's happening, and I'm like, oh god. Oh god, come on ITV. Do you really need to have an auto cue in front of AJ and Will to just be like, hey, be quiet, you're going back into the house, it's a fake eviction? Did you really need the auto cue for that? Did you? I don't think you did, okay? Let's be honest. So anyway, Sam was absolutely shook. I'm very excited to see Sam in the spare room with Farida and Emily. I think they're going to have a great time. And the entire vibe is just so fun now. I'm excited. The fact that we have had a fake eviction, Sam is now going to get to see what the house thinks and also the power dynamics and things like that. I think it's really going to open up everyone's eyes to the situation and the hierarchy within the house as well. So that is all we've got time for today. I'm super excited for the rest of this week, and I know you guys are too. So without much further ado, I'll finish up and I'll say goodbye. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now.